Welcome to Madoka Magicast, the podcast devoted to the dark magical girl anime Puella Maggie?
No.
Yeah. Madoka Magica.
No.
Yeah, apparently it's Maggie.
I don't care.
I don't care either. I've always pronounced that word as Magi, so I'm sorry.
Can't
apparently
do it.
It's supposed to be Maggie, but I'm not going to do that. I can't. I'm sorry.
Oh,
okay.
well, but I'm Canadian. You're stealing my
no,
culture.
No, I'm American. I should absolutely be apologizing for everything all the time.
That, yes.
Cultural appropriation for an American to apologize.
That's true. Apologizing is Canadian culture, and we should not take Yasha's sorry away from her.
Okay, hold on.
Hi.
The dark
Hello.
magical girl anime Puella Madoka Magica. I'm your host Amanda, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Yasha and Vanna, who own the biggest English language revolutionary girl Utena website, Empty Movement. And we're also joined by special guest Panda, who is our producer for the show. Hello, Panda.
Hello. I am here to yell about rebellion.
Yes, Panda also does Imagine Me in Utena podcast and the Capita Connection podcast and a whole bunch of other podcasts that we always forget to mention.
Sometimes we remember the Fresh podcast, a real podcast about fake podcasts. Yep.
Yes, when you snipe me from afar by saying my catchphrase.
You love it.
So yes, we are here today to talk about Movie 2 and Rebellion, which I know everyone's been waiting for like over a month. So thank you everyone for your patience. We have had multiple setbacks in trying to get this recorded, and we're finally at least recording some of it tonight. Probably not all of it, because we're probably going to be here for hours.
I'm going to qualify for the listeners that I have not watched Movie 2 in a very long time, but I did just watch the first half of Rebellion, so I at least can talk about that. But before we get started, can I tell you guys about the first time that I saw Rebellion?
Yes.
Absolutely. Let's hear it.
Okay, so I watched Madoka in like 2011, probably like 2012 or something. And
so like right after it aired.
It was not that long after it aired. And when did Rebellion come out?
2013.
Okay, so I feel like I watched Madoka a few months before Rebellion came out. So it was probably late 2012 when I watched it. And I heard that there was going to be a new sequel movie, and I was riding the high of having finished Madoka for the first time, and I was like, hell yeah, let's go, sequel movie. And I was so fucking excited. I was so excited, guys, that I kept track of like when the movie was doing showings and stuff, and I feel like there was a limited US showing, or maybe I'm misremembering, but like it was definitely not near me if it was. But I was keeping track of when the movie was coming out, and as soon as the first cams of the movie hit the internet, I was on top of it. When I watched Madoka Magica Rebellion Story, it was a cam of one of the exhibition showings at like almost a Dutch angle.
Oh my god, 2013.
The way that they had to shoot this, and it had these horrible fan subs. Like, they referred to Bebe literally as capital B, capital B. Like, it was, the fan subs were like, I could follow what was going on, but also you could definitely tell that there was some grammatical shit going on that I could just not make a lot of sense of. But I was so invested in watching this movie, and then when I finished this movie, I hated it, and I still kind of hate it, but I am glad that we're talking about the first half of this movie, because I feel like the first 2/3 of this movie actually genuinely fuck. Like, the first 2/3 of this movie are actually very good and very beautiful, and so we're talking about the good shit.
Yes, I would like to share my story of watching it for the first time, because I had the opposite experience as you. I watched it very soon after it aired. The show was already over, but it was probably still in 2011 or early 2012 when I watched it, and I loved it, and I was part of the fandom in that beautiful short period of time where that was all we had, and then they announced that they were making movies, including a sequel movie. And I remember, this wasn't during the heyday of Tumblr, So I remember sitting on Tumblr being, like, posting, like, continuing this story is the stupidest fucking idea I've ever heard of. What the fuck are they even gonna make it about? I don't even care what it's going to be about. I don't want this story to continue. Please don't change the ending of this. Like, already from the very beginning, I was extremely skeptical about the decision to even move forward with this. Then, I don't think I watched a cam rip of it. This was also when I was in law school, so I was also, like, not really existing in reality at the time. I was existing in, like, law school bubble. So when I did get a chance to actually watch it, it was just a fan sub of at least, I don't remember it being a bad cam rip. So it was either a good cam rip or it was just the Blu-ray release in Japan. And I remember being confused through the entire movie, kind of warming up to it towards the end, and then getting to the end and being like, fuck this movie. So I had kind of the opposite reaction as you, Panda, because I really don't like the first half of this movie.
I mean, I was confused, but I just thought it was so pretty that I was willing to, like, strap in.
Oh, absolutely. The movie is beautiful. You're not going to hear any arguments from me about the movie not being an incredible delight to watch. And just a wonderful work of art.
Yes, it is absolutely. Like, hot take, this is actually more my aesthetic by the end of it than the Utena movie was, because the Inukuri stuff is like, oh god, I love it.
It's so good.
You could do that nonstop for 2 hours and I would have been perfectly happy. It's visual, it's visual J. Caesar. It's just clusterfuck of symbols
it really is.
blasted into your eyeballs, and you just sort of like get blown into the wall behind you, and that's it.
Okay, so wait, before we get into Rebellion, we do have to very briefly talk about the second movie, which we have not talked about yet.
Okay.
There's really not a whole lot to say, because it's pretty much just the last 4 episodes of the anime, like, basically the same. There's some small changes, but they're weird, and they're really not major. Like, for example, that iconic red-blue swirl shot with Kyoko and Sayaka. For some reason, that's not in the movie. I have no idea why. It's like 2 seconds long, so I don't know why they cut that.
But it's that's the same decision as taking the parade away from Walpurgis now.
Yeah,
like,
they nerfed my wife. They nerfed my wife. I don't like it. Sorry. But okay, so in the actual series, when you see Homura going towards Walpurgisnacht, she walks through the whole, like, circus parade thing.
And it's awesome.
All the familiars, and it gets really creepy and weird. And they removed that completely, and I'm so mad about it. Oh my god.
It was such a great accumulation of tension. Like, you really felt, oh my god, we're getting to head. This 12-episode series is like...
That's the thing is,
you now.
Because Homura is, like, ignoring, she's surrounded by familiars, and she's just ignoring them walking forward, and all these familiars are ignoring her, and they're just continuing their march onwards towards the city.
That's like walking by an explosion kind of thing, like, Homura just
exactly.
She just doesn't even give a shit. Like,
yeah.
Cool. And then
but it's gone from the movie. Sad. My wife got nerfed.
Your wife.
But,
do you have, like, naked pictures of Walpurgisnacht?
What?
You don't remember that?
No.
It's something that Borat does at one point.
Nobody actually remembers Borat. They just remember the memes.
I was in college when Borat was a thing, so I've seen Borat, like, 10 times. I very much remember Borat.
Alright, as far as movie 2 goes, though, Basically, it's a carbon copy of the last 4 episodes, pretty much, except for very few cuts and 2 things that got changed. For one, Kyubey is presented as more reasonable and less sadistic throughout.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Like, tone of voice is different. They frame him differently on camera. They basically just make Kyubey sound like he's a reasonable person, which is, like, when you run it, like, side by side, we didn't actually do this, but we watched the 2, like, the ending and the movie very close together, and side by side, Kyubey in the series is absolutely emotional, sadistic, curious. Like, he's got a lot going on by implication of what he does and by tone of voice.
Right.
And for this movie, they remove all of that.
You know what I think it is? In the show, he is framed as the primary antagonist. He's the thing everyone's trying to get around.
Yeah.
in the movies, they kind of reframe him not to be because
more of
Homura
like
is
a force of nature.
Yeah, Homura is going to be.
Yeah.
He's more of a like he's just a different entity, and he's a Q.
Yeah.
He's not good, and he's not evil. He's
just kind of there.
He's this powerful entity that does things and pokes at things and has goals, but isn't necessarily, a force of good or a force of evil. He's the Q.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so what's the second thing that
the second thing is they reframe Homura completely.
They do.
To be more unstable.
Yeah, we're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into this because I think you're right, but I also think that doesn't justify some of the things that happen in Rebellion, and I'll explain.
Well, I mean, that's gonna bleed right into Rebellion talk.
Yeah.
But basically, like, as far as Homura goes, they make her less sympathetic throughout until the very end, where they start bringing back sympathy for her. They cut out the dream sequence at the very beginning and stick it like halfway through the second movie.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, I know. Like, you need that dream sequence to understand what actually is going on with Homura and why she's important, really. So for like most of the movies, she's just completely motiveless as far as the audience is concerned.
Yeah.
And they make her seem a lot less stable. Like, a lot of her emotional reactions, because you don't know why they are coming, like, why they are the way they are and where they're coming from. They just kind of come out of nowhere, and it's, like, for instance, the scene when she's hugging Madoka and crying and being like, oh, I feel like my words don't even reach you anymore. The scene where they're in her house, right?
Yes, yeah.
The way that's framed in the show, that makes perfect sense, and you see this as a strong person breaking down.
Right.
The way that's framed in the movies, that's somebody who's teetering on the edge of something.
Yeah, she's already, like, shaky voice starting to fall apart.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like they were trying to reframe her as more inherently selfish from the beginning.
Yeah.
I
really do feel like
that's how they felt they needed to sell the rest of the...
Thanks, I need it. I wanted to point out a couple things about movie 2. So the scene in Homer's flashback where she is forced to shoot Madoka's soul gem. That entire scene that's like the worst thing ever. They did not re-record that voice acting. They used the same recording for the voice acting in that scene. From what I remember, because I remember reading something from the director again, where they were like, yeah, we debated for a long time about whether it made any sense to re-record that dialogue, because it was already, like, perfect the first time they did it, and then we decided to just use the same thing again.
It is perfect.
Yeah. I also wanted to say that the series opening plays after the flashback is over, and they took out the creepy bondage moment with Madoka.
They did.
Good.
Yeah. Which I think reinforces our argument a little bit here, because at this point in the story, we are no longer,
they're no longer trying to hook the audience that way.
Yeah. Also, the rain is not yellow when Madoka is running through the rain.
It is no longer yellow. It is no longer a piece.
I forgot. I genuinely forgot. I remember you guys joking about it, but I just, totally forgot until just now.
Sorry for everything.
We should really be apologizing to you.
I don't have to apologize for shit. I'm not a citizen of Canada for another month.
Yeah, you haven't taken on apologizing as part of your culture yet.
I do it next month.
Are you getting citizenship?
Yeah, I'm getting citizenship literally one full month after the election. So,
boy.
So I'm like totally mad. And you know what? If I had not had to go to the Utah musical, I probably would have gotten to vote. Because I had to delay my exam for the musical. That's okay.
Had to go.
That's okay. I'm fine with crashing the Canadian government so I could go see musical.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's a good.
It's fine.
Anyway.
And then there's one more thing in movie 2. In the naked space scene, they're wearing sparkle
I didn't like
clothes.
that though. I thought that was very at that point I thought the naked was appropriate.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like male gazy the first time either. It felt magical girl.
No, I didn't think it did either. The only thing I could think of is that this was a wide cinema release, so it wasn't playing at 2 a.m.
I could see that.
Also, maybe they wanted to
our note on that is, fuck you, why did you put dresses on them?
they changed a lot of the music, and they added a lot more dramatic music, and sometimes I feel like, bigger isn't better.
Yeah, when Homura's soul gem is darkening, they changed the music
to like an
for
opera,
that.
and I thought it was way more powerful as that kind of more sedate, tender music.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing I wanted to point out about movie 2 is that all those things we were arguing about the final episode, about how it kind of cast its ending ambiguous, with Homura kind of being content in some scenes and being upset in other scenes, they left all of that in.
They sure did.
So all of the scenes where she seems kind of okay with everything
still there
are still in there. But like in other parts of the movie, she's made less sympathetic.
Yeah, it's the whole lead up into that is changed, but that section itself isn't. So I don't know. Like, I just keep on coming back to the feeling that these movies were not made to readdress anything exactly. They were made to slightly bend the views of the fans,
and frankly, to make food. It's a cash grab.
It is a cash grab.
It's that's
a given. That's a given. But I mean, the whole thing with the movies is that they depend so heavily on your knowledge of the series that it's just like,
but they don't do anything interesting with that knowledge. They don't reframe it in some way.
They depend heavily on your knowledge of the series, but at the same time, they change things in an effort to justify what happens in the third movie, which is like,
you shouldn't have needed that.
Which is just contradictory. It doesn't make any sense.
Yep. It's
like, why not change even more things to make that even stronger?
Exactly.
Why not add some new scenes instead of just taking away scenes that were necessary to understand the characters?
Oh god, I'm still so mad about that because they literally cut the legs out of every single relationship in the movie or in the series except for Homura and Madoka, and that is changed. Like, Kyoko and Sakura get done dirty.
Totally. they really do, honestly.
Mommy and Madoka get done dirty.
Mommy is the worst. Like, they
Sayaka and Madoka get done dirty. Sayaka and Madoka. That entire scene where Homura threatens to kill Sayaka, that entire scene is not in the movie. The first movie.
That was...
Yeah.
It's like literally the only time Homura and Sayaka are together alone, isn't it?
There's
on screen by themselves.
Like they left so much out. There's no sense of stakes when Sayaka turns into a witch. It's just like a plot.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing feels like they just made the characters into little puppets and had them act out the plot points. It's just really it's odd and creepy, and I don't know, like even Madoka and her mom. They cut most of Madoka talking to her mom ever. So
yeah, and I just want to state my personal opinion that they took that attitude of half-assing everything directly into Rebellion, and they took a story that had maybe some potential to be interesting, and they left out all the scenes that helped prop up the characters and relationships.
I don't think I can necessarily agree or disagree with you.
No. There is an alternate universe somewhere where this was a second season, and it's twice as long. And we learned so much more about the new status quo and what's going on, and there's so much more intrigue, and we learn more about, the pacing is so much better, etc., etc. It's like the Rebellion movie is the movie version of... It's like the Madoka anime is to the first Madoka movie as this hypothetical Rebellion anime is to the Rebellion movie.
I can see your point. I'm not sure I can really agree or disagree with it, because to me it feels like they were trying to do something entirely different with Rebellion that has nothing to do with plot or pacing. We'll get into that in just a minute, because movie 2, let's just get our final thoughts about movie 2 out.
Yes.
It's just a rehash.
So, like,
there's nothing new.
No.
I don't find it interesting. I don't find it particularly offensive. I don't remember anything about it making me happy or unhappy.
I'm mad at it on the basis of nerfing my wife, but and I'm also mad at it because that, like I said, they cut Madoka's relationship with her mom almost entirely, and that one scene that you, Amanda, and you, Vanna, did not like about Madoka confronting her mom. It's still a necessary scene, but it makes even less sense in this context. and it just doesn't work. Like, if you take the movies, like movies 1 and 2 as a whole, you take them and show them to somebody who doesn't know anything about Madoka, I can't see them enjoying it that much because it's too disconnected. It depends way too much on
you're already
knowing already that Madoka and her mom have a good relationship and trust each other, or that mommy is afraid of being alone, or
which is why I really don't 100% buy the argument that, Rebellion makes sense because it's a different continuity from the
supposedly
anime.
The director says it's a continuity of these.
It's not, though, because they need your knowledge of the anime for this to make sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
It can still be a different continuity for you to still have the knowledge that you had from the anime.
But then the changes they made to Homura's character and the other characters, they're not changes. They're just assuming that you remember stuff that's not in the movies.
That, honestly, to me, is like a flaw in execution of the, not necessarily like the construction of the movies, but the whole idea of what they were getting at with them.
The changes rely on previous context so much that can you really call them changes so much as like transmutations and progressions.
Yeah. It just, it doesn't, I don't know.
Like, I feel like it's hard, like, it's going to be really hard for me not to do this, I'm just going to do it, but like, if you compare it to Evangelion, in End of Evangelion, Shinji acts very different from how he does in the series, but you can kind of squint and see how he might have progressed in that direction. Under different circumstances, and Homer
it is a plausible progression from episode, I think 23, is it, where he has forced to kill Kaoru,
and then he breaks down. And you're like, okay, well,
it is a plausible result of that episode because I think it takes place. Doesn't that movie take place immediately after that episode?
And, okay, so here, I think I figured out what pisses me off with Shinji. That progression makes sense. And you can read him going in that direction, so it's kind of comfortable. With Homura, I do think the problem is they tried to do kind of a similar thing where it's like, well, this could have gone this way instead, but that relies on taking away information viewer and taking away context. Yeah. Like, you have scenes removed, you have her be reframed as, like, unstable. Like, Shinji doesn't get re-recorded in the first 20 episodes to sell that he breaks down later. This relied to some, like, in this, they redid these movies, they re-recorded it, they did different scenes, they took away information that was relevant. Like, they took away, even, like, silly scenes, like, when she seems to excel at everything.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, like, they took that out entirely, so then we have this vestigial scene of her not excelling at anything, and it's just kind of hanging there. It doesn't really...
The context is completely different because we don't have that context.
Exactly. Like, there's nothing to attach it to, so it doesn't... It becomes kind of meaningless. So, all in all, I would say movies 1 and 2 can suck my ass. And that is my informed and intelligent opinion on this.
And I don't care what the directors say that, Rebellion is a continuation of the movies.
No.
I actually have more fun reading it as a continuation of the series, although that makes it terrible. But that's the
point. Does make it terrible, but we're terrible.
It makes it terrible. Okay, hold on. So now we're getting into Rebellion. Okay. So we've heard from Panda that Panda has issues with the second half of this movie, but likes the first half.
And you like the neither half, but you definitely don't like the first half.
I don't like the first half. I like parts of the second act, and I hate the very end. But you guys have told us on Discord that you have betrayed us, and
you knew we were going to do it all along.
You've betrayed the impression I got from you guys when we were talking about this before. Apparently you guys like this movie, even though you seem to, in the past, have either agreed or understood some of the criticisms.
I still understand your criticism. I'm full of criticism.
We're not, okay.
Disappointed, but not surprised.
We're
contrarian motherfuckers.
Look, we're not here to stand.
No, we're not going to mount a rousing defense of the movie. We did enjoy it.
We're going to tear it apart.
It's got a lot of asterisks to that enjoyment.
It does.
There's a lot of problems.
Personally, the reason I enjoy the movie is because I have a hard time watching things. Literally, a lot of the time, if I'm watching a television show, I will get bored between the sentences and drift away. Like, I don't know.
I think that's called depression.
What I think that's called ADHD.
Yeah, actually, I've been told a couple of times I should get checked out for ADHD.
We're working on this.
Yes, yes, you should.
But I really enjoyed the movie because there's so much going on. I don't have a chance to get bored. I'm too busy trying to figure out what's going on at any given moment. I'm too busy trying to unravel what is the director trying to do, what is the storyteller trying to do, what effect are they trying to have on the audience, why are they pacing it this way, why did they do that way? Like, so the movie for me is great because I can just let my brain go full bore into it and roll around in it like it's a fucking Scrooge McDuck in a money pile.
Yes.
See, for me, it's the same experience, except it's frustration instead of being curious. Yeah. For me, it's, and we'll get into that, but Panda, what do you think?
This movie makes me very frustrated.
Yeah.
And Vanna?
It's one of those movies where you can, like, see what they were trying to do, and it's got so many good parts to it. And if you squint and you use your transformative fandom powers to, like, fanfic the holes of the movie into your head to make it make sense, you can kind of turn into a really good movie. But it doesn't change the fact that it's like just not done well.
I think that this would have made an excellent season 2.
Yes.
I would agree with that completely.
I would have loved that. It does.
Like, if this had been drawn out and paced a little better, like, I could absolutely fall in love with this as a season 2 of Madoka, but as a 2-hour movie, I just don't think that it holds together, and that I think the well, we won't get into the conclusions, but I think the conclusion that it gets to is not
earned.
Great.
It's not earned.
It's not
the rest
earned.
of the movie does not earn that ending.
It's Game of Thrones all over again, Amanda.
Yeah.
But that's also getting into the ending stuff, which we're not going to touch right now.
We'll do that another time.
Vanna.
Yeah, we're going to do that another night, because we are not going to get through the whole movie
I don't think we're going to get through
because
this
it's
for
2 hours.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Vanna, so why do you like the movie?
Well, okay, so I did like the notes for it, and my notes are kind of like a clusterfuck of trying to figure out what's going on, because, to be honest, I watched this movie I took, like, the Utena movie approach to it and did not try to figure anything out on my first watch. I just, like sat there with my eyeballs really wide and just let it sink in. And I feel like that actually worked better than the moment I tried to actually figure out what was happening.
I mean, for this episode, I rewatched this movie 3 times. So I watched it 2 times just watching it, and then on the third time to take notes is when I was, like, actually pausing it to like, actually take notes, you know? Actually, when I was taking notes, I think I appreciated more about it, because I got to slow down and, like, digest the visuals more.
It really, really packs everything in. Like, it's a really densely, like, visually layered movie, and I would say that there's a lot of implication in the things that it's trying to do, but the things that it's trying to do are not necessarily plot or coherence.
Yeah. And I think at times the parts are greater than the final sum. Like, there's specific things it tries to do and specific moments that work on their own that I don't know that they really entirely served the greater experience of a film, but were awesome anyway, because I love them.
I want to talk about this for a little bit, because I feel like the plot and the coherence and the pacing and all of that was incredibly not the point.
Yeah.
That the movie
Which is good, because the pacing is terrible, so if that was the point, we'd have a real problem.
But the movie feels like, to me anyway, when I'm watching it, what I'm seeing is more, we're going to push this button so it'll have this effect on the fans. And then we're going to push this button so it'll have this effect on the fans. And that seems to me more like what the movie is concerned with, rather than having a coherent plot or good pacing or anything like that.
See, I can see where the movie tries to do that, but as we're gonna see as we start to go through it and we read my notes, none of that button pushing worked on me at all.
I'm not sure that you're the target audience.
Well, we were never the target audience in the first place. So I'm
not sure that American fans or even girls.
I don't care.
I know. That's
care.
valid. But
100%
when I'm thinking about these things, what I'm thinking about is what audience were they trying to reach, and how did the things that they do affect that audience? Which kind of turns the first third or so of the movie into a horror show for me, but because the first third is where they pack in all of the fan service and all of the stuff that you would expect to see, and all of the stuff that's gonna like jerk the fandom off a little bit.
The rest of the movie has a lot of fan service.
Yeah, it does, but
there's some fan service. But I mean, extended transformation sequences, weird creep
drawn
shots
out
during
fight
them,
because you want to see
mommy's
girls fight.
tits being characters.
A bunch of
their
shit
own.
that I never asked for and didn't really see.
But who did ask for that?
Who did want that?
I don't know. Who did? Did anyone did? Did they?
Probably the 18 to 35.
Did they know? I honestly don't know. Send us an email if you were a part of the fandom who wanted the first 45 minutes of this 2-hour movie to be completely irrelevant.
There you go. Pandanda, is this what you wanted? Is this the world you wanted?
I mean,
this
I don't know
if... This is not the joy that I wished for.
This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. But I just, like, I like so much about this movie, and, like, the second time that I watched it, I was like, why did I hate this movie so much the first time? This seems like it's kind of fine. And then, like, it gets to the end, and I'm like, oh, I remember now.
Yeah. I think I have the opposite experience to you, Panda.
Yeah. The end of the movie is where I think it some of the strongest stuff is, until you get to the very end.
That's what I mean. Like, the very end is where it really falls apart for me.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I just have a question. Were we gonna like watch the movie alongside this, or are we just gonna strictly go off the notes?
If you guys have it there to watch it along, that might be.
Honestly,
good.
I feel like that would keep us on track better than discussing the notes.
Yeah. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Let's get started on this.
All right,
so Rebellion story. It was released on October 6th, 2012. Its runtime is 130 minutes. Holy shit, that is a really long runtime for an animated movie. That is a long time for an animated movie.
I didn't realize it was this long until I went to watch it earlier.
I'm actually surprised they got away with this kind of length. Like, this is huge.
Seriously. It was directed by Akiyuki Shimbo, who I think was a director in the anime, too. He didn't he direct some of the episodes?
I believe so,
Yeah. Also directed by Yukihiro Miyamoto, written by our boy Gen, and music again by Yuki Kajiura.
I love the music. For actually all of Madoka. The soundtrack.
The music in this movie is especially good.
Oh, yeah. The only one I don't like is when they redo Mommy's theme.
Yeah. But the music is just insane. Like,
the entire beginning sequence where, I mean, I know we're gonna get into the movie, but the entire beginning sequence where they, like, rehash Madoka and her family in the morning waking up and stuff, and then, like, her going to school, all of that music is so fucking nostalgic for me, which, it's weird to be nostalgic for a thing I watched less than 10 years ago, but, like, I used to listen to the soundtrack all the time when I would be doing chores and stuff, and so it just gives me so many feelings to, like, hear it all again.
I think that's kind of the idea, is it's supposed to kind of like lull you into that happy ooh
false sense of security.
Yeah, right. Actually, that's pretty much exactly what I think about that. But we'll get to that. There's the whole beginning sequence here before we get to that.
Yes. Okay, so the movie opens, we have a cold open, as we are used to at this point. And it's an image of Homura's soul gem kind of spiraling. It looks like it's basically sinking underwater into like a black ocean with bubbles kind of following it down as it sinks. And it's Homura's voiceover. She's basically telling us the premise of the show.
She's explaining the law of cycles pretty much. She just doesn't call it that.
Yeah.
Well, she calls it that in a few minutes.
Yeah. I want to point out that this movie deserves a window counter.
It really does.
Because the sheer amount of window imagery in this movie is ridiculous.
Yep.
And remember, Madoka means window in Japanese.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is, I really don't think that was
I did not remember.
accidental.
I think there's definitely something to say about the whole voyeurism imagery plus Madoka being basically the thing you're looking through. Kind of thing
totally.
and the movies.
The reason I brought that up is because in this scene where we're watching Homura's soul gem kind of sink down into the depths,
so many windows.
We see this window frame kind of come up, and the shutters open, and the soul gem falls into and through the window.
Which is kind of bookended at the end by a closed window that's sewn, like a window that's sewn shut. Mm-hmm. So you have that kind of message.
Yeah. Okay, so right off the bat, I want to point something out here, because I'll just be honest, I'm going to be complaining and nitpicking about this movie throughout the entire thing. Okay. So literally, in this opening sequence, Homura literally states outright that she is dreaming. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She literally says, "I had a dream about Madoka." Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it segues into.
Don't they talk about what that dream actually was later on?
Yes, that's a conversation they have later.
Yeah.
That's not how I interpreted that conversation.
Okay.
Although we will get to that eventually.
Yeah, it does tell you right away the premise of the movie. Like I said, I didn't try to figure this out as I went along, so I just kind of let it.
To be honest, the Utena movie had the entire plot of it in the first 30 seconds. Yeah, and it's explicit to the point.
So I'm kind of used to that.
Yeah.
Well, as someone who came into this movie very skeptical and with very high expectations, that really was oh, okay, so the movie's a dream.
Yeah.
That's why this is possible. That's why this story is possible, despite the ending of the show. Okay.
It's
okay, so the whole movie's a dream.
Long punchline.
So, immediately, all tension and mystery gone. I already know none of this really matters until maybe the end, or unless the movie goes farther than that. I already know it's a dream. I already know none of this is real. Do you know what I'm saying? Really from the very beginning, it was kind of all right.
I can totally see where you're getting at. I just, honestly, I attached it to that conversation that they had about the dream later on.
I just assumed it was bullshit. I just assumed it was mystical, magical horseshit because I'm an Akio fan and I can just write off that.
I can see where you come, not to get into it because that's later, but I just want, before we move on, I just want to say I can see where you're coming with that. If that's an example of a scene that should have been included in the anime version of this story, but that was longer and got to be more well developed, or B, my original interpretation of that scene is that it was Homura's way of trying to explain to Madoka the fact that she had memories of a different reality, and she's phrasing it as a dream.
Yeah.
In an effort to explain it to her.
Because Kyoko does the same thing later. She's I had a dream
when
you died.
Right, yeah. But, we can get to that later. And I don't want to dwell on it too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see how this would feel very different if you were presuming no stakes. I didn't take it as being a dream sequence, so I didn't mind it that way, but if this is just a dream, where's the stakes? What's the point? I totally...
Yeah. Yep. At any rate, we then move into an incredible sequence. This whole opening sequence is beautiful.
Poetic cinema. Okay. It's fucking gorgeous.
Welcome to cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did not even notice that.
Yeah.
There's so much going on.
There is so much going on.
The movie basically opens directly into what looks like a witch labyrinth, and we see silhouettes of ballerinas that kind of resemble Madoka, but it's also not quite detailed enough to clearly be Madoka. Do you know what I mean?
There's little tufts on the hair,
but you can't quite tell if they're pigtails or not.
Yeah, the skirt's not quite a cupcake skirt. The gloves aren't quite correct.
Yeah,
the pigtails aren't quite there, but it's kind of the same kind of silhouette.
I think
so it's vaguely
definitely supposed to register it as kind of Madoka-like. They definitely
And there's, all these silhouettes of Madoka-like ballerinas are dancing around this witch labyrinth-looking kind of place, and there's this archway in the background that says, "Welcome to cinema."
Which is some shit.
Now,
that's
in English.
That shit right there. Thanks, I love
it. To me, when I see that, I'm basically seeing them giving a great big middle finger to the audience.
Here's what you wanted.
Fuck you. Here's what you wanted. This is what you wanted, and we're gonna give it to you. Fuck you.
I didn't fucking want this, you assholes.
Yeah,
I don't want these.
Okay. But let's keep in mind the audience that they were most likely writing for.
I know. I totally understand that. I'm
those
just saying,
guys wanted this.
I watched this very much with the end of Evangelion premise in mind, because I actually saw a Gen Urobuchi say I did not plan on continuing this.
Yeah.
So there's almost a sense of he continued this under duress anyway, so I think there's a bit more of a cynicism about it. Yeah. In the sense of oh, this is what you wanted. I'm going to crash your happy ooh ship. Deal with it. Yeah. Same as Evangelion.
No. Yeah, pretty much.
Which I'm fine with, because I like being abused by my directors.
I know.
But,
well, writers.
That too.
Gen Urobuchi is not the director.
Right. Sorry. My auteurs, then.
The whole welcome to cinema thing, and later on the are you enjoying the movie, to me are so just these major middle finger to the audience. Fuck you. Yeah. You wanted this, you got it. And I find it really interesting that all of there's a lot of stuff in here that I would call fan service that I think maybe not you guys aren't necessarily registering as fan service. I'll point it out when we see it. But for now, we've got that horrible teddy bear thing on the screen.
The nightmare. I like that. Yes. So there's these blue hands that you see a lot, and later on, the presumption I think becomes that those are Homura's control of her little labyrinth and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But given that you have it framed as Welcome to Cinema, it becomes the director. Yeah. So this much. Is here we're orchestrating the show for you, and the blue hands being so ubiquitous and everywhere.
Hey, there you go. I didn't notice that before, Amanda. Look who's on the screen.
And there's Madoka.
Oh, there's Madoka there.
There's one Madoka in the ballerinas. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you would have to go through this cell, frame by frame.
Literally frame by frame to catch everything.
I absolutely did. Yeah, there's a Madoka among the, group of silhouetted
Honestly, ballerinas. I'm going to have to watch this movie, 3 or 4 more times just to...
This is an acid movie is what this is.
Yeah, I should drop
out. It'll make a lot more sense when I've taken acid. That's how I feel about this.
Yeah, so this creepy teddy bear thing we later find out is called a nightmare, and it looks like a witch for the most part, but it's not a witch, as we learn later, contrary to what the audience may be expecting, or maybe in line with what the audience is expecting. Madoka suddenly appears. She should not be here, but there she is. And she's here to fight this horrific teddy bear thing, and it's blue hands.
She's got a label on it. Look, it's got a label on it, it's a purchase, a product, and the name, I'm guessing that's the name of... Yeah, it's witch script. Okay. And I'm guessing, that's the name of the nightmare, but this feels very here, merch, you fucks.
Kind of.
There's a lot of moments like that for me, where it's oh, this exists for merch.
Madoka showing up here is one of the things that I would consider fan service, because
oh, absolutely,
just straight up Madoka. You can't have a Madoka movie without Madoka in it. Okay, here she is, guys. You know what I mean?
I think that it's interesting that Madoka is the first magical girl we see in the movie. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how significant that is, but I noticed it when I was watching this earlier, that she is the first magical girl that we see.
Yeah, definitely.
When I'm thinking of the audience section that would be highly anticipating this movie in Japan, knowing who it was marketed to, I'm thinking about otaku guys who are basically oh, my waifu's on the screen.
She looks just like my body pillow.
And then I'm yeah, of course Madoka shows up first. Of course she does. Because, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Akihabara guys who are buying all the titty mommy fans.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, maybe not that. Maybe not that section, because those are mommy's fans.
No, they're everybody's fans.
But you know those. Do you know that famous clip of those guys who's 3D girls are so dirty?
I have
2D
that
girls
meme
are nice
somewhere.
And clean.
See, this one's nice and pretty. They don't smell, and it's
smell, and they don't have bodily functions.
Which is ironic.
So I don't know what you're referring to, but I feel like my eyes rolled so far back into my head that I can see my brain.
You're ruining your optic nerve there.
You're
ruining
we're Googling it.
Now Vanna's finding this movie clip, I think.
It's not a movie. It's an image.
Yes. There we go.
A real female, of course, smells, is dirty, and of course, it's a human being. It has lots of things. So we have this anime. Isn't it clean and pretty? And he's in a store full of what is totally.
You know what? It looks like
shit.
he's in fucking Madarake.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's clearly in the porn floor of Mandarake.
I was literally about to say, it reminds me of the doujinshi stores we went to.
We were absolutely
there.
Yeah. But he looks very unkempt and gross, too, so you're like, yeah, coming from you, thanks.
He's so sweaty.
Yeah.
Look at him.
He's so excited by this magical girl.
His shirt looks like it hasn't been washed in like 2 days.
This is absolutely the market
Yeah.
that
I'm
I think
assuming
we're going,
that somebody who's maybe a couple of levels up in hygiene from this is the target audience for Madoka, and with that in mind, Madoka showing up first makes like that's
of course
makes
she
so
does.
much sense. Of course she shows up first.
Of
Of course
we're
she
here
does.
for her. Yeah.
Because we're trying to appeal to the guy who likes clean and pretty 2D figures.
Which is sad because the show does the show really does take the whole series to get to that point because it is about her journey there.
Yeah.
And this is about, you want to see Madoka. Here you go.
Yeah, but again,
here she is.
This is a part of the whole, like, movie wanting to affect the fans more than it wants to have a coherent plot or anything like that.
This is an end of Evangelion, like, where, you have a 26 episode run of the show building up Shinji's character, and in the movie it's like, here's Shinji, and he's jerking off immediately.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that sort of thing, like, oh, this is what you're here for.
You're here for this food, here's the thing though, when I watch End of Eva, I think that's a good movie. Mm-hmm. And I think I don't really see it as a middle finger to me as someone who...
You're not the target audience.
Well,
that's the thing. That's the thing.
It's kind of like especially this because the audience is so much a consideration of...
Listen, I am the target audience for both of these movies. Because I like both of these shows.
Just because you enjoy it doesn't mean it was made for you. But just because it wasn't made for you doesn't mean you can't enjoy it.
Cut that audio clip out for the bronies.
Oh no. Oh no. But yes, Madoka fans are the Japanese bronies. I said it. Done.
Analysis done.
No.
Analysis
done. No.
No.
No. That's like the male pretty cure fans.
This is what I'm talking about. This is different. This is Madoka's audience that they were actually like. Yeah. Like, let's face it. Companies over there, like animation studios over there, do not give a single fuck about North America most of the time.
Yeah, generally not.
And
there are exceptions.
They're not considering us.
Well, listen, it's not... I wouldn't say it's 100% accurate to say that is the only... Even in Japan, that's the only group of people who enjoyed this. No. Like, they are aware that, like, women in their 30s love this show in Japan,
but
too.
Who's gonna spend
you know what I'm saying? Like, well, that's a whole different thing, right? So now we're getting into how merchandise is driving the modern day anime industry,
and merch definitely drove this
viewership.
There's definitely an element of merch,
you know. But that's different from the target audience. Mm-hmm. There's the audience for merchandise, and there's the audience for
and it's like a Venn diagram kind of thing.
It is a Venn diagram kind of thing, but I feel like this entire beginning section is
like a pandering whoop.
Yeah,
which isn't a bad thing in and of itself.
What
that
it is
kind of nice as a
like,
celebration. But
here, fans, here is the thing that you wanted to see. You wanted to see transformation sequences. You wanted to see the girls working together for once. You wanted to see Kyoko and Sayaka getting back together. And
it's true.
Together.
I did want all of these things.
Yeah.
I did not want any of those things.
Windows.
Well,
and then we go through Windows.
I did not ask for any of those things at any point.
I asked for lots of these things. I'm sorry,
I did not
Amanda.
want any of that. It's okay. I'm just clarifying here. I did not want or expect any of that from this movie.
That is fair.
I was sitting here watching this movie like, hell yeah, they're working together. I love this.
Yeah, but that's the level you're supposed to be enjoying it on at this point. Like, that's what they're...
I am a simple gay.
Yeah, but Panda, your reaction is what they were going for.
I think so.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. That's like...
It's not a bad thing.
I don't personally like that, so I find myself more interested in what they were trying to do with the things that they put on screen and what kind of effect they were having on the audience.
Our pandering is like an
You know what? This, I hate to get topical, but this is reminding me of the current discourse around the Joker movie.
Oh my god. Oh no.
Because a lot of the reaction I've seen to that movie, especially from actual people in the movie industry and like Oscar voters, is a lot of people think like the movie is well made, but incredibly irresponsible in its message. So it's one of those things where it's like, well, does the movie necessarily succeed just because it does what it sets out to do? Like, is that the only thing that you that to be considered here?
Just because you did didn't mean you should.
Yeah.
I can't really call Rebellion a good movie exactly. I enjoy the hell out of it, and
it's a good movie.
I like what they're doing, but that's me.
Right. And listen, I am a big fan of the 2017 Venom movie with Tom Hardy.
Oh, I love the 2017 Venom movie.
I can relate to having affection for a movie you're willing to admit is maybe more objectively not really that great. Like, I can understand that sentiment. And I understand that this is subjective to a large degree. I do understand
a lot of my
different I get it.
Are things that I agree with. Like, the pacing is shit.
It is awful.
Absolutely shit.
Yeah.
But as soon as I add in that other layer of not necessarily them being concerned with pacing or plot and more trying to mold the emotional reaction of the audience, then all of that stuff makes sense.
Yeah.
In a weird way. Like, you can't have
it's more art house feel.
Yeah.
Like, you're just supposed to like soak it
Oh
up.
my god, this is terrible. Do you remember Aftermath and Genesis?
Yes, it's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Except Aftermath and Genesis was horrible.
Those are my favorite kinds of movies. Like, it's easy to be like, ooh, The Godfather's a good movie, because whatever. But, like, it's more fun to actually have to engage with and enjoy things that aren't
And it's more fun to have something that you can tear apart.
Yeah. Like, I do enjoy that, and this definitely delivers there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have this really sweet opening sequence. It's very like, yay, Madoka, the intellectual property, let's celebrate it for a few minutes. And then they like zoom through a window.
Yeah.
And like,
they zoom,
windows.
a window, more windows.
Many windows.
And then a door closes on it.
Yeah, well, before that, we see Sayaka and Kyoko
fighting together.
Yeah.
Teaming up and being friends.
Yep.
And being friendly to each other, which again is like, okay, again, neither of them should be here because they're both dead, and also they're not acting the way we expect them to act. So this is more of me sitting here like, okay, this is a dream. I get it. So anyway, continue.
I was not content with how they did those.
So yeah,
we get a call out of Kyoko's Flanderization later in the film.
Yeah, we do. And that actually is kind of relevant to the plot. So, and we'll Sayaka, I do want to just note that she knows she's dead at this point, and she's aware of everything that's going on. So her acting different is fine.
I'm gonna fucking bitch about that so much.
Yeah,
later,
when we get there,
that is so confusing, and I don't. Does she know that now? Like,
she says so.
Does she remember later? I just don't
I'm
understand.
I'm fine with it being yes and no, but I work in neurology.
Did she recover her memories the same way everybody else did?
Remembered all along.
It makes no goddamn sense. Anyway, continue.
Okay.
Sorry.
We'll get there.
We'll get to my neurology speech and your I hate it speech.
Okay.
Overlap there. So we have like this kind of like fake out opening sequence with the girls all feeding the dream figure. Like they're bringing him like bread and turkeys and candy.
I find it cute
apples.
that
I think
Sayaka has a chicken.
I like Kyoko's apple because God knows she can't get away from apples.
Well, I mean, Sayaka in the show was a gigantic chicken when it came to her boyfriend, so
that symbolism. And then you see like Charlotte flop over, and obviously like the audience is like, holy crap, why is Charlotte here? Which I feel like
I love that the first shot of Mommy is that we see her titties.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Love that.
Love that. Gotta love it.
Oh yeah, here's the first boob sock shot of Mommy. We also need a boob sock.
And we really upgraded that boob sock effect. Like we really,
honestly, even in the show, her tits were kind of a character of their own, and now they've just gained sentience. Like, it's just like, so oh god, man, stop.
Yeah,
they're entities unto themselves.
It really
is. Especially because Mommy is my favorite character.
Yeah, they keep showing us Charlotte because they're like, haha, Charlotte's here. What does that
Charlotte,
mean?
Bebe, Nagisa.
Yeah, but right now they're showing you.
You know what? We should just call her Nagisa because that's who she is.
And that's her actual name, even though the movie never tells you
I'm
that.
super salty about them not translating Nagisa, because it's in one of the lines. They call her Nagisa, but they don't translate it.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that happens, but
like
they just skip right the fuck over
her name. So mad about
I thought that was just her name. I'm confused.
Well, Bebe is what Mami calls the little pet thing, but she doesn't know about Nagisa, who is the original magical girl.
Nagisa's the magical
girl. Yeah.
Nagisa Momoe, I think.
Nagisa is the magical girl that turns into Charlotte, and Charlotte is masquerading as Bebe in this world.
Yes.
And
okay.
Mommy's, familiar and pet or whatever.
But So I'm still mad about that line not getting translated.
I'm gonna assume that the reason Bebe is so preoccupied with Mommy is because she's super into cheese and Mommy is full of yellow and she thinks she can eat her hair.
So she can eat her head.
She wants to, that's right. Get it?
Yeah.
Well, also
I
that
hate
she's
you.
this is the witch. Hold on. This is the witch who wished to have a cheese dessert with her mother before she died of cancer.
Yeah.
She just wanted mascarpone.
And then Cube asked her, why didn't you just wish for your mom to not have cancer anymore?
And then she
immediately turned into a witch.
Which is fair. But she looks like she's 6, so it's totally like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's really young. She's really little.
So sad.
Yeah.
I don't exactly stand Nagisa, but I feel bad for her.
Yeah, big time.
So anyway, before we move on to this transition, I just wanted to point out that this song is very cute.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you listen closely to the soundtrack, this is a bit of a what is it called when they repeat a tune? Yeah, it's a little bit of a leitmotif. Because although it's very peppy here, I think the next time it pops up is right before the scene with Madoka and Kyoko talking at the table.
Mm-hmm. Homura and Kyoko?
It's the song... I'm sorry, Homura and Kyoko. It's the song that the Drosselmeyer kind of guy is playing out of the music box. Mm-hmm. That's the same song as this opening song in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, speaking of Drosselmeyer, because we started recording a little bit later than we thought, I took the time to look up the Nutcracker.
Yes.
And Drosselmeyer is in that. I didn't realize.
Yes, and we have a frequent commenter, Tom Tay Fairytale, who really wants to come on the show to talk about the Nutcracker connections.
Yeah, that would be great.
We need to have them on the show in the future for sure. But what did you find? Yeah.
Oh, I just reviewed the plot of the Nutcracker because it'd been years since I saw the ballet. And basically, Drosselmeyer is the inventor of the Nutcracker himself, like the titular Nutcracker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's variously some kind of magician or some amazing inventor, and the Nutcracker is variously the king's son or somebody who tried to rescue the princess in his life as a human and then was turned into a nutcracker, or he is just straight up a nutcracker who becomes a human later on. So, and Drosselmeyer is the creator of that, and the whole thing is kind of about rescuing that nutcracker.
So is Drosselmeyer like the Orobuchi stand-in?
Not exactly.
I think he's a familiar of Homer's Labyrinth, technically. Although we're getting ahead of the plot here.
Yeah.
Okay. Spoilers.
Yeah, sorry.
So we do transition back to...
what could the plot of this movie possibly be? Telling me that it's a dream in the first 30 seconds.
So we progressed to our little review and starting off with that same shot of Madoka waking up that we've seen 8 billion times, which I get, that's deliberate. It's like the Ascension
Love
sequence.
it.
Okay, so...
fills my heart with joy and happiness.
And that's what it's supposed to do.
That's what it's supposed to do.
I didn't realize I was the target audience for this movie, but turns
out... You're getting called out hard now.
But extremely. That is what the sequence is supposed to do. It's kind of pointless plot-wise, but what it's supposed to do is evoke feelings of nostalgia and warmth in the audience.
Yep.
And basically, it's also supposed to make you kind of set aside and discount everything that happened before and kind of brush that off as, that was all Madoka's dream. That was the dream that Homura was talking about
except it wasn't. No. Yeah. We know that's coming back.
I know. But...
you know what I'm saying? I wasn't fooled for a second for this.
Yeah. But it's
supposed to. They're doing it anyway, even if they don't expect you to fall for it. And I feel like that's also kind of manipulative, but that's fine.
Oh, the movie's extremely manipulative.
If I am supposed to feel frustrated and annoyed while watching this movie, then the movie succeeds.
I would say, you know what?
You know what I'm saying? If that's how I'm supposed to feel,
it endeavors to do one
the movie
or
works.
the other. Like it's very the show was very polarizing that way, and they deliberately went like even harder.
Yeah,
either you're gonna get
ramped that up.
experience, or you're gonna get furious the second it starts.
Yeah,
and either way, I think you're the target audience, just in different ways. Like you're supposed to have a strong reaction as
okay, that's fair. Having a strong reaction is
the point,
fair, but I'm not
whether
sure
it's
that
good or
frustration is what they were going for.
Maybe not frustration, probably more, fury and
my fury right at this moment is at that teddy bear seam on the screen. I'm staring at it and I'm just dying here because that's not how teddy bears are made. Oh my god.
Okay. Yeah, so we established very quickly in this scene that Madoka is a magical girl and that Kyubei's there, but Kyubei is super uwu. His body language is much more consistent with a cat. He even goes...
Very much love this neutered Kyubei.
Yeah, I kind of wanted neutered Kyubei. He's kind of cute. Less sexy than was in the show.
He doesn't talk.
He
doesn't talk. He just makes this little wibble noise.
It's a little harder to get into that, but, I'll try.
Yeah.
My intense dislike for Kyubei does not allow for me to find him cute at all, ever. No, I know.
Cute Bay.
Cute Bay.
Cute Bay.
That's what this one is.
Honestly, at this point, this character and this depiction of Kyubei is Q from Shrek. That's how I read him. Like, that's just the kind of, that's the read I get, which actually kind of makes this super fun. But we go to, she's gonna wake up her mother. The random chairs are still there, so we still have the chair watch going on.
Chair watch is much less important in this movie.
It is. There's a lot fewer chairs.
It's more a reminder of the chair watch of the series than it is anything else.
It's totally the remember those fucking chair guys.
Now it's all about windows.
Now we're on windows.
We're moving on from chairs. Now it's about windows.
Is still creepy.
Still the creepy voyeur bathroom.
Every time God closes a chair, he opens a window.
Oh my god, yes. I feel like that goes very along with God is dead in this movie. The themes here are powerful. So they immediately it's the same conversation about Hitomi about the teacher, but it's recontextualized because it's a different result.
The ribbons and all of that kind of thing.
So there's minor changes there, and none of them are inherently foreboding, really. It's just, it's a slightly different world, and I guess you're supposed to imagine
probably, as somebody who was watching this for the first time, you probably barely would even notice that at this point, because you're too busy being nostalgic over most of it.
Yeah, you're kind of just I'm seeing this on the big screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, it's this idyllic world that I guess you're supposed to imagine is the Wraith world, but Madoka is there, so there's a problem.
Yeah.
Do.
This, honestly, is...
Well, it's clearly not the Wraith world, though, because that thing was not a Wraith.
Yeah. It's totally kind of
At this point, the movie is setting you up to believe that this is an alternate universe retelling.
It's either an AU or you're already going to assume it's a labyrinth, and I think either way is you're
either way,
you're supposed to think.
Fine.
And we get toast. We get the fucking toast.
Toast running.
The toast run. I hate it. I'm so tired of toast run.
that just to let you know, that was definitely in the anime.
Oh, it was.
So.
It was absolutely.
It was?
It's in everything.
It totally was. It totally was.
I'm so sick of the fucking toast run.
There's no toast run in Utena.
Thank God.
And if there was a toast run, who would it be?
Oh my god.
So then we get the actual opening number here.
Yeah, which was it's very...
Okay, real quick, if there was a toast run scene in Utena, it would be Mitsuru.
Oh no. Yeah, you're right.
That's my take.
It would be.
Yeah, it probably.
And it would be a piece of toast that Nanami had taken a bite out of.
Ooh.
Yep.
Well, that exists.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Thank goodness.
Sorry that we spoke that into existence.
Yes,
Oh,
that
please
exists.
no. Please no. Let me not speak that into existence this time. All right, so we
this
got...
whole opening is them kind of playing in a carnival kind of atmosphere on rides and things like that, with Homura looming about not participating because...
Yeah, it's like very
obvious.
on the nose.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like very Homura being as emo as possible, and the other girls are like having a dance routine around her on a
The
merry-go-round.
little scene where Madoka bumps her hip against Homura's hip just fills me with joy.
As it's
They're
supposed
babies and I love them.
Okay, so let's talk about a second here the fact that we get a shit ton of dual bells and then a merry-go-round.
Look, we're gonna have a problem if we start that now.
I know.
Oh, hold on. Tell the audience what you're talking about.
We're talking about
So the
Utsuga again.
opening sequence has Ferris wheels.
Oh, Kel Surprise.
It has Ferris wheels, it has clockwork, it has poppies, it has a merry-go-round, and it has a bunch of underage teenage girls. So it's an Akio reference.
Okay.
No.
This is the opening sequence Akio would want.
Yeah, probably.
Panda, that okay was like the comedic timing of that okay was so perfect.
So y'all enjoy that.
No, but I think that this is
I don't think it's a serious reference, but there are absolutely
I
explicit
think
Utena
they're
references.
making an Utena reference here just because of the juxtaposition of the dual bells.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, they're
because of the
even
bells too, I
animated
thought
like the bells from the duels,
It's-
and then we get this merry-go-round with a bunch of people dancing and one person standing still.
It's like Belladonna is to Utena.
Yeah.
This is not explicitly supposed to be Utena references, but you can tell they saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the influence I think is undeniable just because of the visuals and also like the bizarre architecture.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because the Utena movie has like very distinct like otherworldly.
Yeah, the bridges and stuff that
architecture.
they do in this one have a lot of similarity to that.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
And
yeah.
there's the fucking the
hands,
hands reaching.
yeah.
That this movie will do 8,000 times before it's done.
Yeah, so Homer during this opening, Homer reaches out to take the hand of Madoka, and Madoka turns into sand, and then she's on that battlefield we saw at the end of the series in like a desert.
We love a sapphic hand touch.
Yes.
And then we see a very brief flash of her salamander earring
Yes.
from
Yes.
the very end.
And in
of
the
movie,
background
which I think
is
is
the
cool.
flower structure that she was being housed in.
Yeah.
But that's like
But
later
that's
in the
later.
movie.
But that's later.
But
These are the ruins
we
of
should
Kyubey's
mention,
world.
though, that all of that Ferris wheel world and
Mhm.
the lush greenery and all of that was non-existent to begin with. The whole music number started in a desert,
Yeah.
and then Madoka waved her hand, and then all
All
of
of a sudden
it
it's
was
there. And then all of a
beautiful
sudden it
and-
disappears.
yeah.
When-
And then as soon as she tries to touch Madoka, it's
Yeah.
gone.
And this
So-
is, and like you find out later, this desolate desert thing is Kyubey world. Cube world.
Cube world.
Cube world. Yeah.
It's a cube world and we're just living in it.
It's, yeah. And like this whole thing where they're like going down the street and it's all very wholesome and again familiar, except that Kyoko is now
This
part
is
of the
again
crew.
AU signaling.
It's AU
this
signaling.
is AU signaling. The
Especially
movie's trying to
because
make
you-
you think this is an AU
Yep.
retelling.
And you've dropped all of the psychedelic.
Do
Yes.
they keep cutting to the rings in order to sell more merch? Yes.
Absolutely.
Do I kind of want that ring?
Yes.
Yes. There is some, and the earring, that's merch. Enjoy. The hair clip, that's merch.
There's so much merch in this.
After this musical number, we get, the sequence of Madoka going to school, and like you said, Kyoko is here, which,
Doesn't make
again, and she's wearing the school uniform, so she's going to the same school as them. So I will say that you're right in that it's signaling an AU, if only because this literally cannot be possible.
Yeah,
any
this
other
isn't
way.
possible in a series.
But I want to say that people, like, when this movie was coming out, everybody knew it was a sequel. Like, it was advertised as a sequel and not as
So you're trying to,
a retelling.
that makes sense.
Like,
Because it's confusing.
yeah.
You're assuming it's a sequel, and then suddenly it's presenting AU, and you're like, wait.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's deliberately.
Yeah, I remember when this was being marketed, it was very clear that this was like,
Mhm.
it was, I believe that the phrasing or the wording used when they were promoting this movie was, it was the world that Homura was in after the end of the series.
Mhm.
So So, like, it was very clear that this could be quote-unquote AU territory.
They're definitely fucking with you and trying to make you start thinking about it.
The other thing is Madoka basically rebuilt reality. I mean, yes or no, depending on how far you consider that goes. Personally, I have some reservations about how much she actually rebuilt, but
we'll roll
you
with it
can make a leap from, reality has been rebuilt to, in this reality, Kyoko is a student kind of thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not something that I think leads directly, but I think it's obfuscated enough that fans can make that leap while they're watching the movie for the first time. You know what I mean?
Right. Like,
it turns out to not be true, and that's going to be disproved by the end of this, not even by the end of this, by halfway through this movie. But at the same time, I think that was kind of a deliberate thing to confuse the audience as to what actually was going on and make it harder for them to parse out exactly why things are happening the way they are here. Mm-hmm. So introducing confusion into your audience is not necessarily a comfortable thing to watch, and not necessarily, again, this is something where I feel like the effect on the audience is taking precedence over things like coherence and plot. Because it really doesn't make sense when you stop to think about it logically. It really doesn't make sense at all to have this be an AU, or to have it be like Madoka's rewriting of the universe includes this, or anything like that. But again, just obscure enough that it raises questions and your audience is sitting here confused and wondering what's going on. And that itself is a kind of hook to draw you into the story.
Yeah.
So,
which is good because that's making up for the garbage pacing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not making up for the garbage pacing for some people. It's contributing to the garbage pacing.
Yeah.
It may be, the problem may be the solution in some cases.
Yeah. The thing is, as soon as they start to pay attention to the audience's emotional reactions more than things like plot and coherence, the pacing goes to shit. That's kind of a natural
But they don't actually take very long kind of starting to fuck with your, happy ooh reading of it, because you kind of have that, you're soaking it up, you're enjoying it, you're having your panda moment, and then they cut to the teacher. I'm not judging. I love. They cut to the teacher, and this conversation is completely different. She's going on about the fucking apocalypse. She's it's just bizarre.
Which this was previously mentioned in the conversation between Madoka and her mom when they were in the bathroom. Madoka mentions that her teacher has been going on about the end of the world. Yeah. So this doesn't totally come out of nowhere, but it does also come out of nowhere. But also, I love Saotome Sensei.
Yeah, she's pretty
fucking great. Kills me. She's so funny.
She's pretty great. So normally this conversation should be the teacher complaining about her boyfriend not liking the egg she made. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to point out
valid complaint, Homura, I will say.
Yes. But, every single time Homura came to school and got introduced to the class, she was standing outside the door listening to the teacher have this stupid fucking monologue about her boyfriend complaining about eggs. So how many hundreds of times did she hear the teacher? How many times did Homura think to herself, get the fuck over it? Yeah. And now she's in her own dream world, and she's made the teachers start really complaining about something important, like the end of the world.
Because we find out later that the teacher is one of the people that got lured into the labyrinth, so she's actually
this is actually her.
And so it kind of makes sense to me that she's ranting about the end of the world, because in a sense, they do kind of imply there's a degree of awareness for the people that got drawn in that something isn't right.
Everybody has that feeling of things not quite being right.
Exactly. And I feel like that's the teacher responding to a sense that something's not right, something's coming to a head, and that's why I
this
get
can't last forever.
Also, she's going off about the Mayan calendar and and I saw a note that some fan was theorizing that they were talking about a comet that happened in November, and it was during Jewish holidays, and it signaled the biblical savior, and blah, blah, blah. And at one point, she's like, a solar or lunar eclipse will fall on every holiday of a certain religion next year, which she means Judaism, and for a total of 6. You can have, the most you can have in a lunar eclipses in a year is 5. So she's talking about, the maximum number of lunar eclipses, plus a solar eclipse. They're doing that whole, But it's very same energy as with Evangelion, where you're just taking random Judeo-Christian
and
stuff
just like
and being
spraying symbolism at the
meaning,
screen.
Meaning, like she's totally just like she's totally losing her goddamn mind. But I took that to be her kind of subconsciously responding to not wanting to accept the conditions of the world because that's consistent with everybody.
But that's something that you have to come to.
That makes sense too.
Yeah. You have to get to that point before you get
on
it.
a first watch.
This
is just more AU signaling.
Yeah,
this is just more like, oh well, things are happening, but they're not exactly the same way. So this must be an AU.
This movie absolutely presumes you are going to watch it at least once, and I have noticed now, like,
at least once.
At least once.
At least once. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could just like not finish it, that sort of thing.
That's true, actually.
And actually, that's something I've kind of started noticing, like watching like Utena and different anime that we like, and even like the fucking musicals when we go to them. There seems to be a presumption in a lot of like media presentation, especially or at least around anime, that you will watch it more than once. Mm-hmm. Like people don't go to like the Utena musical once. There's like a sense that you're gonna go at least a couple times if you're a real fan.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what's happening here. Is there's an assumption that you're gonna go see this again and then
I mean that's fan culture in Japan. Yeah. I mean we were talking to Fukiko about this, weren't we?
Exactly. It's that.
And like she was big into Takarazuka.
Takarazuka.
Fukiko, I don't know if you're even listening to this, but love you. But she was talking about...
I'll tell her that she got a shout out and hopefully she'll listen.
Yeah, maybe. But she was talking about how in Takarazuka and basically most fandoms that she'd been involved in Japan, that a lot of the way that you proved your fanness was by consumption of the material. So you would go to see things several times and you would buy things that even you didn't necessarily want, but the more you bought and the more you consumed and the more often you saw, the bigger fan you were, kind of thing. And that was your those were your bona fides. I guess.
That's what I think is happening here. Is this entire thing is going to make way more sense the second time around when you see that she's someone that's been pulled into this labyrinth, and they're very consistent about that. Everybody that's there, aside from Hitomi, fuck Hitomi, who cares?
What?
Hitomi doesn't really kind of have any evidence of rebelling against it.
Bullshit.
How?
I mean, she has that whole freaking nightmare sequence that is
she would
totally
have had that
unlike
anyway.
her. No, she wouldn't have.
That's true, I guess.
She's
responding
not
to an agitation.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Like, that's...
I didn't think of it that way.
She's totally unlike herself.
Yeah.
Like, she's freaking out over this tiny thing. And we'll get there.
But there's definitely a theme of the people that got drawn in that are actually, like, conscious entities that weren't in the labyrinth to begin with, already kind of rebelling against it.
Yeah, and they're
it's
really
very Matrixy.
Not comfortable there, and things feel off.
That's what it is. It's a Matrix thing. Because, like, in the Matrix, they say, well, we tried to make everybody happy, but you just rebelled against the system because you couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And this is, like, literally what's happened is she's made this kind of idyllic labyrinth. Because it's not a wish labyrinth, but it is a labyrinth.
Yeah.
But it's too perfect, and everyone's kind of like, chafing at it.
Yeah.
Which I actually really like, but it doesn't really make sense until the second round. Yeah. You don't get that from the first round, in my opinion. Anyway.
For now, it's just confusing.
Yeah.
Like, on a first watch, this is just confusing.
You're just like, okay.
And on the second watch, and on the third watch.
Well, like you said, like, it takes like 40 minutes for the plot to start, and there is like a sense of this whole thing being like, okay.
Where are we going?
Where's the plot? Where's the plot, Gen? I'm looking at my watch and tapping my wrist here. I ordered this plot 45 minutes ago. It's not here yet.
Giving a hand job to the viewers that were looking for uwu. Yep. Okay?
Can I also say, this teacher being like, being as I'm almost 40 and, my sex life is now ending because I'm getting old, the world can just end, I don't give a shit, is a mood.
Totally relatable.
Oh yeah, women are dead at 40. Thanks.
Yep.
Especially in Japan. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Japan really has that attitude. Yeah,
it's bad. In that sense, I guess I kind of like her character because they call they refer so blatantly to that as being freaky and terrible, but like it's awful. So, Homura shows up.
So we've got this new student. It's Homura with the braids and the glasses.
Yep. But a little less
love
awkward.
me some baby Homura.
She's less awkward,
Yes. She is. She's not stammering. She's a little bit more, she's more confident. She is smiling when she introduces herself. And
isn't this
really
how everybody wanted to see her be, though?
This is how she wanted to be.
This is how she wanted to be, but this
absolutely.
is also how we wanted to see her.
Yes, we didn't
Nobody
want her
wanted
to suffer.
see
We
her
didn't
in
want
pain
sad,
and-
stuttery.
Yeah.
We wanted happy,
We wanted,
kind of shy, but you
but
know.
still,
Yeah.
So it's again, this is still just a part of the hand job.
And also, we see a ring because one, we need to establish that
she's a magical girl,
but more importantly, merch. Because all of these rings became merch.
Yeah.
You can get these rings.
And all of the girls in the class see her with the ring, and they're like, "Oh, she's a magical girl like us."
I accidentally spoiled when I looked at the rings, and I was like, "Oh damn! I cracked the code. That's the girls' names in witch script. Oh my god, the girls are gonna become witches."
You spoiled her yourself.
I'm sorry.
I got a little spoiled looking for like making the cocktails because I saw Devil Homer, and I'm like, well. Okay then. But I mean, that doesn't tell you how she gets there, so I didn't really, it didn't feel like much of a spoiler.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's good. That's minimal, I think.
Yeah, it was minimal. I would say I did pretty good not getting spoiled for this.
Yeah.
And still existing on the
internet. To be honest, I had seen art of this a long time ago, and I remembered it, but again, I didn't know how Homura got to be Devil Homura, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing you can kind of
just section it
wonder
off
if it's just fan art, or if it's just like a special costume
picture.
from an event or something. Yeah,
totally.
So after she teases the ring at them in class, they meet her on the roof, and Mommy introduces her as, she was actually helping me when we were taking down that nightmare, and she's gonna join our team. And what I love about this scene, and this maybe goes into why I think Sayaka is still under the same influence everyone else is at this point. Sayaka is like, if you guys remember back in the show, Sayaka like never likes Homura ever. She's like she's suspicious of her in every timeline. Like she's just not, they're not friendly to each other. And I love how in this perfect world that Homura is constructing for herself, Sayaka like loves her and immediately accepts her into the group and compliments her for how useful she's going to be in the team.
It's very like, oh god, this is my Mary Sue. This is her Mary Sue.
I think you can read it both ways, actually. I think you can read it as Homura is constructing Sayaka's memories
to be happier.
Or you can read it as Sayaka knows what's going on. And she's playing along.
And, like, later on when you have, like, Sayaka with her full memory and talking to, like, Madoka, there is, like, a sense of, like, oh, well, I did this for, like, there's more of a
she basically says
on it.
that she knew all along.
Yeah.
She?
Like, it's harder. Like, I feel like enough time has passed and her circumstances have passed that she can think of Homura differently.
I thought there was a point at which they say, like, oh, we got sucked in and then our mission got delayed because we were under the influence of the same thing you were doing to everybody else.
Oh, do they say that?
Yes, they do.
I think there was, I don't know how long they were like that.
They do, but for some reason, okay, that maybe we'll get to later, but it does not make sense to me. It makes
either,
sense
like,
either
to
way.
be honest, like I said, I feel like you can read it either way. Either she knows exactly what's going on and she's playing along, because that's the mission, or she doesn't know what's going on. She's been sucked in. Homura's rewritten some of her memories.
Memory is not linear.
No.
So I feel like when she goes, oh, I remember, does nobody else remember it? And, like, she acts like she's known all along. You can totally remember a thing and presume and imagine that you knew it all along and basically rewrite everything.
But like, that becomes more relevant a little later on.
That's like, it just feels like very memory being fucked with is not completely established in reality, so I can kind of accept that Sayaka both knows and doesn't know right now.
Yeah.
Because she does seem to react like she does, but doesn't say, like, it can be both to me, but she's definitely establishing a world where she's invited in and less suspicious.
And welcomed.
It's very
But again, isn't this what we wanted to see happen?
Isn't this what we wanted? We wanted Homura and Madoka.
Okay, so let's pause it here for a second. we are an hour and 45 minutes in by my recording.
Oh my god.
I need to take a shower before I to get to bed to go to work tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So might this be a good spot to
All right.
cut it off for part 2?
Yep.
Yeah, we only made it about 13 minutes into 14
God.
minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
But I don't think that this is the worst place to end because we did have to talk about movie 2 earlier.
Yeah.
And
True.
if we're going to split the movie into thirds, then we could probably handle where we leave off here and then to about the actual end of the second third of the movie.
Yeah. We could probably cover that.
Yeah, because we've already established the happy Uwu world, and now we're going to start establishing what's wrong with it.
Exactly.
So this is a good, kind of transition to where they've stopped trying to lull you in and are going to, fuck you with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
I also would not like to edit a 2.5-hour episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
I'm going to say, the good thing about Rebellion is, boy, are we going to, milk this for a lot of...
I know, right?
We're not going to have problems creating content.
Seriously?
Well, listen, it's 2 hours of fresh story, so that's a lot of
2 hours
stuff to cover.
Dense.
Yeah.
The show is densely written, but this is dense in visuals and symbolism.
But you know what?
In
That
a way
feels
that the show wasn't.
familiar because that other what that we played, the game,
yeah,
Sayana Uta
Uta
is also very dense that way. I think that's just Gen's style.
Yeah.
Is he's just very.
But
concise.
I mean, the visuals throughout the entire thing are now just as dense as the Witch Labyrinths were in the series.
Absolutely,
which is a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah.
I love it, but it is
okay,
a lot.
so we are going to have to cut it short here. Luna is also whining, which means she probably needs to go outside to go potty. And I don't want her to do that on my Sailor Moon
No.
Which you still have to send me a picture of.
Aww.
Yes, I'll will you poke me on Discord in 5 minutes when I come back in from the dog? Okay, and I'll send you a picture. So anyway, thank you for listening to our coverage of the first 13 minutes of the Rebellion movie.
Almost 14.
Or almost 14 minutes. I hope we're just getting started here, so I hope everybody is excited for the next, 2. Maybe I should only be 2 more after this. Maybe 3 if we really get long-winded about it.
I was floating the idea of an entire episode where we pick specific symbols, like the flowers, and because there's
absolutely.
so much you could do with that, but we'd fucking need to research.
That
needs research.
Yeah. That needs research, and that would be after we
that might
finish
be
it chronological.
That might be a good. Yeah, that might be a good guest episode too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I feel like there's
actually,
everyone we know has a different set of knowledge as far as what symbols are being used. Mm-hmm. Like we know someone that knows all of the Faust and nature references and stuff like that, and we know someone that knows a lot of the flower language, and you need to pile everybody in
the fairy tale stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
all right. So thank you for listening. Woo! Please tune in to part 2 next time. You can follow the show on Tumblr and Twitter at Madoka Magicast. You can follow me, host Amanda, on Twitter at Lambda Power. That's Lambda like the Greek letter, and then Power.
And you can, should you want to find us, you can find us at ohtori.nu. That is Empty Movement. That's where Vanna and I have hung out for the last 20 years or so. You can also find us on Twitter at ohtori_nu, and that's a lot of shit posting. So
yeah. Well, it's also important content. No.
It's just shit posting.
I offer things like the entire musical, but to get it, you have to deal with my 8,000 Akio shit posts.
Yes.
I charge. I charge for what you
want. Okay,
Okay,
hold on. My dog is freaking out. She needs to go outside. I do
not
not want her to piss on the bed. Yes, so tune in next time. Panda, plug yourself, and then we'll close it out. So you guys close it out. I gotta go run outside.
We can close it out for you.
All right, thank you.
We do it for her being Luna.
All right, Panda, plug yourself.
If you would like to follow me on Twitter, you can do that at @mpandanata. If you would like to follow other things I do in the world of podcasting, you can check out Imagine Me and Utena, a Revolutionary Girl Utena podcast, or The Fresh Podcast Market,
a real podcast about fake podcasts.
I'm gonna just, when I edit that, I'm gonna cut where I said it, and I'm gonna leave where you said it. It's gonna be real good.
Okay,
awesome.
Okay, there we go.
And I think I said it earlier, so you could do like a smash cut of all three of us.
We got both. I've got the full Yashavana spectrum.
Yeah, it's good.
Of calling me out.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Tune in again for part 2
of how many? Who knows?
Of how many
Rebellion exists. Oh god.
At minimum 3, like probably.
Like the merch issues.
Oh god. The merch. Oh no.
Anyway, okay, so
okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Oh my dear.
I hope Amanda stopped her audio, otherwise it's just gonna keep going until she gets back.